Welcome everybody to the Strength Connection. Tony Pascolla, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for coming, man.
Thanks, Mike, for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so it was fun. I got a blast working with you on your podcast on Primal Foundations. So it was really fun and exciting to turn the tides here. So really appreciate you coming on, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a great episode. It's good to chop it up with you and just talk about some highlights and strength training and your story as well.
All that stuff. Yeah, I love seeing the work that you've done. You've been in a bunch of different kind of avenues from the endurance world now into the strength world with all this stuff. How did this all start for you? Like, what was the first inspiration of getting into physical health early on, which eventually led you into getting to the coaching world?
Yeah, for me, it started when I was a kid. Really, I had struggled with like a lot of health issues as a kid in terms of just being overweight. That was like a big thing, like crazy, like high blood. I remember like having high blood pressure as a kid and just being, super overweight at a young age. And, it just was a part of like growing up with me. And I tell the story all the time. For Italian family, just outside of Chicago, like everything is about food. Everything is about food, and
food is love. Yep.
Food is love. And, you just keep eating. And, at home, not that my mom and dad didn't cook, they did, but it was a lot of eating out too. Like it was just very standard American diet, plus on top of like lots of pizza, lots of pasta, lots of heavy things, lots of very heavy carb things. And I just was overweight. And then I think around my about seventh grade or so, I mean, it was like when I was shopping in the Husky section, I was probably wider than I was tall at that point, and I was like, I got to do something. So I ended up starting my first thing of like getting into shape, if you will, was running. And I just remember as a young kid, and I would wait till it was nighttime, and I would run. We had alleys where I lived, and I would run in the alleys at nighttime. Late at nights because I didn't want my friends to see me running. And so then I just started doing that. I started trying to eat better. Then I started putting more miles in, and then I started getting into strength training. And for me, I was going to the local gym. I have no idea what I'm doing. You got to think back. There's no YouTube. There's no Instagram. There's some muscle magazine. So literally I was just like benching a lot, just getting on the bench every day because I didn't know what else to do and just doing something. And then I got into high school. I wrestled. I was an athlete. I played football. I did a little bit of track and field as well. But the weight thing was a big issue with me. Like my nutrition was always going up and down, just yo-yo dieting like crazy. And in college, I chose not to wrestle in college. I felt like I could have gone to like a Division III, not a Division I by any means, but a Division III and been at least competitive. And I just said I don't want to do it. I don't want to cut weight anymore. It was so mentally taxing. And there's the freshman 15, then there's the freshman 50. And I definitely gained in college like about 50 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was big, and I was like, shoot, I got to do something. And so then I was like, I got to have a goal because I'm not in athletics anymore. So I don't have a goal to I don't need to get in shape for anything. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to train for a marathon. And I was in college. It was like my freshman or sophomore year. It was my sophomore year of college. I did a Chicago marathon. And that got me back into running. That got me into shape. Again, yo-yoing a lot, which was a struggle for me. Found a gym in Chicago when I started working. It's like 2011. Called Monkey Bar Gym Chicago, and it was the founder his name's John Hines, and it was my first introductions of kettlebells, barefoot training. We had rings, we had monkey bars, we had just everything, no mirrors. It was awesome, all functional fitness stuff. There's a yoga studio upstairs, and so I started getting into kettlebells that way. Started to get stronger. My nutrition, I tried the vegan route, but the gym was like big vegan. That's when like Forks Over Knives was coming out. Lost some weight, was feeling good. And then I fell into like this hole like where I just got kind of sick. I was getting blepharitis in my eyes. And so I started trying different diets, and I went to keto. Eventually going to carnivore, kind of healed up a lot of stuff for me. And, I competed. I got into some longer endurance racing, IronMan training, and competed doing like a fat adapted style, and it just works for me. And everybody's a little bit different, but then I was a teacher, got into coaching, and just fell in love with coaching and just being a part of the gym, being a part of the community, educating. Like when I had a client recently, he's like, what are you in the business of, getting fit? I'm like, no, I'm in the business of education. And that goes for kids, that goes for adults. So that's just like a long-winded answer of where I got where I am.
Yeah, I love it. What was it about running early on that spoke to you? Was it the results that you felt from it? Was it something different, like you took some autonomy over your health, like going, like looking back in retrospect, those early days of like getting in, was that all self focused? Like, did somebody else kind of help kind of coach you along that way, or was it all just kind of self driven?
I think it was self-driven just because I didn't know what to do. And it just seemed like if I go and run, I'm going to be tired and I'm going to be sweaty. And therefore I did my workout. And so, and I had access to a gym. I grew up in Melrose Park. We had the Civic Center. And I was too young to actually go into the Civic Center, but we knew the front desk lady and she would let me in, and I would just go by myself with weights and I have no idea what I'm doing. But running just to me was like, hey, you're putting in work, you're doing something, and I think running is great. I think again with these big endurance endeavors, if that's something you want to do, it's just like anything else. It's a sacrifice. Like any sport you do is a CrossFit is a sport that's sacrifice. Bodybuilding is a sacrifice. Like running endurance events is a sacrifice. There's a lot that takes a toll on your body. But I think for me at that point, it's just like getting on the road and going and doing something. I just needed to do something. And so mentally, I'm like, I'm actually going, I'm running, I'm working out. But again, I look back, I'm like, I was running like 5 days a week. And I was getting up to like 5, 6, 7 miles as like a 7th and 8th grader, just running because I just didn't know what else to do.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. It's funny. There's such a love-hate relationship with a lot of people on running, and there's so
Hmm.
many people that say, "Oh, you don't need it." I kind of fell in love with running a few years ago, of just getting outside and just going for a run. Being a strength guy for so long and like focusing on that, it's
Hmm.
almost like not demonized, but like, oh, that's like an inferior thing to do. Focus on these. It's like, running is just can be a very enjoyable thing for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. The aspect of getting outdoors, especially like obviously when it's cold out in Chicago, like it sucks to run in the winter, but just the endorphins you get and just the feeling you get of just that freedom of going and moving and just in that continuous. I think the problem with running that I see with like either clients, students, or whatever is just like this chronic running of it's a lot, and that's the only thing they do because they don't strength train. There's no mobility work. It's just I'm running, and you'll see some people that's like, hey, you are a runner. You run X amount of miles a week, but you don't look strong. Like you don't look fit. And so there's the cardiovascular aspect of which is great, but I think a lot of people with the running they overtrain and they under recover. And that falls into this trap of like you're gonna fall off, the wheels are gonna kind of fall off as well. And if you push too hard, because it's so easy to push too hard when you run, and everybody wants
Very
a
true.
time,
Yeah.
a pace, or whatever. And I think the methadone method at all, like the Phil
No.
methadone method. It's like it's 180. It's a heart rate method. It's 180 minus your age, and that's going to be like your top limit of your heart rate, and that's pretty low for a lot of people, and people don't like it. Like I'll train like that, and I'll be in my little zone here. It's basically like a zone 2 training, if you will, but it gives you a top limit, and I'll be running. And I'm like, I could go way faster than this, but my heart rate is saying that it's X. So I'm like, I'm going to stay here. And what ends up happening is you're not overtraining. You're able to recover and do more the next day and the next day. And then you'll notice that your heart rate stays the same, but your pace will just start increasing. It's just because you're getting fitter and you're not overtraining. And I think the biggest thing with endurance is overtraining is a big one.
That's interesting. I didn't hear of that. I know the 220 minus your age. We always were taught that early on of
Hmm.
like the top rate from there. 180 is definitely different, but I can see that as like a good metric of making sure that you don't overtrain. Because cardiovascular work, there is a little different feeling on it, like where strength there's a little easier biomarker to know whether you're overtraining or not. It seems like no matter how educated you are, yeah, cardiovascular, you can definitely, seem like fall into that trap a little easier.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So when you got into the monkey bar gym where like you learned the functional training, how did that come about? I'm sure there's a million, different gyms in Chicago area. What was it about that spot that like spoke to you? Was that a recommendation, to you, or how did you come about in finding that?
I was looking up gyms, and I think I was because I think a big buzzword was functional fitness at the time, and kind of like the Mike Boyle stuff. And I was just out of university. I think I was starting my career. I was like 22 years old, and I was just Googling functional fitness or something, or maybe even kettlebells. I don't know, because I just saw kettlebells and I was like, oh, whatever. And this thing, we have news, WGN News, and there's just like this little clip of like this says Monkey Bar Gym Chicago. I'm like, what is this? And I click on it, and they just did like a little piece on it, like a little just kind of like a PR piece, and it's just people running around barefoot on rings, like like Venice Beach, those big rings, like they had those in there. It just, to me, the movement piece seemed really cool because I did the box gym. I went to we have X Sports out here. It's like a LA Fitness type thing. And I've been to all those. I've used the machines. I've used the bench press. And I'm like, I want to like do something different and fun. So I went there, and it was my first introduction to the kettlebell. Jesus, like I look back, oh God, like just swinging a kettlebell
Tell me
for
about that.
yeah, just swinging a kettlebell for it's so. And I've heard, I think Brent Jones, I've stolen this from before, but I think he explained it as like learning kettlebell is like learning stick shift. It's like clunky, like you can feel shifting the gears, you can hear the but like after a while and you keep learning stick, then you start shifting and you don't even feel the shifting. Like it's just going. And I felt like I was learning stick for a long time at first. We had some RKC instructors. That's when RKC was before StrongFirst. So RKC still exists, but it was before StrongFirst even came about. But yeah, their instructors were RKC instructors, and it was just a very awesome, enjoyable and fun gym. It just stinks. It did go under. They sold it, and then somebody had it, and then that went to crap. And the community was awesome. The gym closed, and it was like right before summer, and everybody that had kettlebells or whatever would meet up in a park, and they would just go work out. And that lasted all summer, and then Chicago winter came, and everybody's like, "Okay, we're finding a gym," and that just kind of fizzled out. But I'm still in contact. One of my best buddies I met there at the gym. I'm actually going to be his best man at his wedding. Some of the instructors and trainers were there. We actually got certified under John Hines. So he has a certification. It's called a Certified Natural Trainer. It's a CNT certification. So it's comparable to a StrongFirst in an RKC. It's more about the coaching. Like you get evaluated on how you coach, though. So you have to like do videos of you coaching another instructor or student. That's your eval. It's not necessarily, you have to perform the movements just like StrongFirst, snatches and cleans or whatever. And there's also some yoga involved of some Ison's yoga. And so it's a combination of some yoga techniques, kettlebell, functional training, and then also like it's the big aspect. Can you coach? So that was really great. We all got our CNT. That was my first introduction to any certification. I went to school to be a PE teacher, and I'm looking back, I really didn't get any instruction on weight training. I really didn't. I got very little to minimal instruction, and that was the first insight of like, oh wow, there's levels to strength coaching for sure.
Oh wow, that's so cool. We used to do that through the RKC as they used to test coaching. Did you go through the RKC at all, or did you go right to StrongFirst?
Just StrongFirst, yeah. And I never got evaled on how I coached. I got evaled on the skills.
Yeah, that was something early on I thought was so powerful is like the last day in the morning when I did my RKC1 is they called it victim coaching, where like the people in the area, they'd probably send out like a mass memo of like, hey, do you want to come for a free kettlebell lesson? And you would take like one, two, or three people, and you would like have to teach them something. It was kind of all up to you. And so when I went into, it was in Minnesota when we went to the first one, like I'm working with 3 people, and we had 70, candidates all working with like 1 to 3 people. So the gym was just packed. And I thought that was a really cool thing. Like they evaluated how quickly you retain knowledge and how you can deliver it to other people. I think they got away from it because I was like back to back with some people. Like it was so close. It probably wasn't the safest thing in the world to do with like so many people swinging
Hmm.
kettlebells around. But that's what I always really respected about the RKC and StrongFirst is no, they like make sure that you are owning the skill set in a bunch of different ways, because there are a bunch of other ones where you can just take a test and say you're a certified person, but they really don't know if you retained any knowledge or so. At least you have to showcase like you've developed a standard level of skill that you can go out and represent what what you just went through.
Percent. Yeah, it's like to me a gold standard. It's like you look at, like you said, I could take a test, my CSCS, I could take whatever, but it's like, can you do the stuff? Do you walk the walk? Do you talk the talk? You could be a great test taker and pass, but are you a good coach?
Yeah. So what then you got into, you said you got into the Chicago Marathon and you ran that, and then you got into wanting to go into the Ironman work. Is that correct?
Yeah. Ironman training. I had a friend. So before COVID, for 2019, I had a friend that competed in Madison, Wisconsin. She did the Madison, Wisconsin. And we went out there. We supported her, at the race day. And I'm watching people, and I've seen Ironman on TV. Like, I'm like, that looks so cool. It looks so hard, but it looks so cool. And then I'm watching people pass the finish line, and I'm like, oh man, this is something I want to do. And then I see my friend pass the finish line. I'm like, oh my God, I want to do this so bad. Then I see a guy pass the finish line, and you could just see the salt stains on him. He's just
Oh, wow.
shuffling. He looked miserable. He looked like he was done. And we finished. I was like, maybe I don't want to do this. I got this looks really, that's really hard.
Yeah.
And
It's fun when they look
and
like
I
Rocky going over there, but the one that's probably it's more normal that it's a stumble across that finish line.
Yeah, it was a very slow shuffle, and he made it across, and then it just kind of left my mind. But I always had a bucket list of like, that'd be so cool to be an Ironman. That'd be awesome. COVID happens. We're locked down. Gyms are closed. Everything. I was like, this is crazy, and we all thought it was going to last 2 weeks. We started ordering food. Like I was eating out a lot more. I was doing keto at the time. But I'm like, this is like a fun vacation. Not, I say fun. I don't mean that.
Right.
But I
Yeah,
mean
exactly.
like we're just gonna be locked in, and I can order pizza, and it's just like, okay, this is gonna last a couple weeks.
The
And
reprieve, yeah, from
yeah, it's
society.
gonna go back to normal. And then it didn't, and the gyms were closed. I was in a building that had a gym that was closed. My school was closed, so I was teaching from home, virtual PE lessons, which was I hated that. And I did the best I could with I got fifth graders on the Zoom, and one kid brings a dog, and the other kid brings their cat. The lesson's over. I'm like, okay, if you
Oh
got a
my
pet,
gosh. Yeah.
bring them. Let's introduce our pets today. Like I'm like, it's crazy.
Go and tell pet day, yeah.
Yeah, it was like that. And because I teach fifth all the way through 12th graders, so I'll have different classes or whatever. And I ended up going to a buddy, I was gaining weight. I was like, this is crazy. So my one buddy had bells, and I was like, hey, let's meet up at the park. Just bring your bells. And we just started working out. Clean squat press, swings, clean squat press, snatches. That's all we were doing. And then I'm like, I have nothing else to do, so I'm going to start running. So I really just started running again, because I'm like, hey, there's nowhere to go. I only have so many bells. My buddy has them, and we can only work out so many times a day. And then I started getting up to like some good mileage, and I was starting carnivore diet a little bit before COVID. I went from keto to carnivore to try it out, and I felt really good. I'm like, I'm going to go back on that. So I'm going to go back on carnivore diet. Felt even better. I really got into looking up like fat adapted athletes, like a Zach Bitter he has the 100, I think he still has a record. He has the 100-mile indoor record, and he's like a ketogenic athlete. Started looking up, like I found Sean Baker, he was on Joe Rogan, carnivore diet. Anthony Chafee, who's like really fit. He was a rugby player. He's a doctor. He's an advocate of the carnivore diet. So I started just like training like that, and training fasted, and just trying to up my fat adaptation. Feeling really good, going on like 18-mile runs with like no, just electrolytes and water. Didn't need anything. So just running on fuel is fat, like or my fat is fuel. And then I
Was
was
that a
like,
shock? Was that like a shock to you at all that you would like that you adapted so quickly to it, or was it kind of like, yeah, I figured this was going to happen?
it was a game. To be honest, it was like a game changer. I thought I was gonna bonk, if you will, like my body's gonna run out of energy, my brain is gonna be fighting against my body for glucose, like all this stuff. And then I was just starting to train. The distances were getting longer. I felt better as I was as I was going through my workouts, and I was like, "Holy crap! I'm not even having breakfast, and I'm crushing like an 18-mile run." I was like, "This is insane!" But it just because I was a sugar burner. Like when I first did my marathon, I was doing gel packs, goos, kind of thing. And it's like I'm thinking about it. I'm like, wow, I already have fat on my body. I'm just keep consuming. And the biggest thing with endurance racing, a lot of people drop out because of GI issues. It's not that they didn't train and they didn't do the race. It's like their nutrition is off. And people are going to train how they want. That's fine. But I went to this and I was like, it's a game changer for me. I don't have to worry about my food, my nutrition, nothing. Like
Yeah.
I'm just literally eating like 2 pounds of red meat every day. Like I was doing one meal a day at the time, sometimes 2 meals a day. And I was just felt like endless energy. So then I was like, wow, I'm getting in really good shape. I feel good. My runs are great. I'm getting strong again from all the kettlebell work. There's nothing else to do. I need a goal. Like that's my thing. It was the same reason like I lost weight back in college because I like signed up for the marathon. I was like, oh, I could totally sign up for an Ironman. There's nothing else to do. So then I just signed up for an Ironman, went for it, started swimming in the lake, swimming at my school when we opened up, biking. It's a learning curve for sure. I had a lot of coaches that wouldn't work with me. I was like, hey, I'm feeling so good on the carnivore diet. I'm going to do that nutrition. The guy's like, no, I'm not working with you. You're going to die. And I was like, yeah, but I feel really good. No, you're going to die. I was like, okay, shit.
Oh, yeah.
So I found a guy in Evanston that's not that far from me, which is like a northern suburb. And he's a coach. And I told him, he goes, dude, I don't care what you do. As long as you feel good. He's like, just do my program. Like, if I'm telling you, like, you got to do this brick run or this, that, like, you need to get those workouts done. I'm like, cool, man. Easy. So just trained and then did a half Ironman in Des Moines, Iowa. And I was like, I'm going to do this fasted. And I was like, I'm going to like prove to myself, like, yeah, I can totally get through this without any food, which is crazy. But so I had a water bottle with some electrolytes. I had like one on my bike and I had one before my run or whatever. And I think I might have had maybe one more like water bottle with electrolytes. So maybe 3 water bottles. But it was like hot as shit. It was so hot and actually delayed the race because of weather. And yeah, by the time we got out onto the water, the sun was just beaming. It's just so hot. But did the whole half Ironman, fasted. I was like, wow, like this is cool. So the full Ironman, when I did that in Arizona, I think I had I ballpark it as 50 carbs. I had a UCAN and a fat bomb, but let's just ballpark it at around 60, 65, like not even 100. Where people were telling me for Ironman training, you needed to have 100 grams of carbohydrates on the bike every hour. Like I had 100, maybe, if that, 75 grams total. It took me 15 hours. The bike kicked my ass though, because it was uphill. It's a gradual incline. They lied. It's a big incline. And you had to do the loop 3 times and we're going into headwinds. So that, it took me an extra hour than I anticipated, which sucks. So Mike, when I tell you I couldn't wait to get off my bike to go run a marathon, I was like, I can't wait to run and get off this stupid
Crazy where
bike.
your mind will go at different times. That's nuts.
Dude, I got up to the top of this loop and you have to do it 3 times. The first time I got up to the top of the loop and then you go down. Like the wind at my back was so strong. I look at my meter. I was going downhill. I was going like 32 miles an hour downhill. I was like, Jesus, like this is crazy. Going uphill into the wind, I was going like 8. So the wind was kicking our butts, but I made it up the second time. I'm like, dude, if I don't think I thought I was going to get a DNF, to be honest. I thought they were going to cut me off. I was going to miss the cutoff. And I said, shoot, I'll just go for it. Just put my head down and keep going and keep grinding on the bike. And finally I got up to the top of the hill. And I unclipped my cleats and I just sit there. And the guy's like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, man. I'm like, this was my third time up. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, you feel okay? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I'm going to be IronMan now. And then I get back on my bike and I go. And I'm like, because I know I'm going to finish. I know my run's the strongest. But that was, talk about mental fortitude. I've never been that close to quitting something in my life. Just into the wind, just grinding as hard as you can and going nowhere. But yeah, so that was the start of my Ironman training. Did some more endurance stuff after that, but I've actually fizzled out of the endurance. I go for runs still, 4 miles, 6 miles, some swimming here and there, biking every once in a while. But I tell people I did the Ironman to complete the Ironman.
Sure.
Not necessarily like this is going to be my fitness. Like I'm going to only do triathlon training. But during the Ironman, I still lifted weights 3 days a week for sure.
Yeah, I know it does seem like one of those sports that it seems super challenging to do that for an extended period of time. I live close to Lake Placid, which has the big Ironman over here. My former partner, Chris, he did it a couple times. And it's interesting. I think he said the bike was the most challenging for him as well. Is that a common thing amongst triathletes? Like, is there one that is like more challenging than others amongst like just like most triathlons, do you think?
I think it depends on the person. Like my friend Danielle is a college swimmer, right? In half of the time that I can do the swim, she can complete it. I'll never forget, we did like a practice try one time, and it was a swim run. There was no bike. It was just like a swim run thing. I wasn't even out of the water yet, and I'm swimming along the lakefront in Chicago, and I hear, Tony, and I look up. She's running back. She already finished the swim, and she's running back. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. No, it was very demoralizing, but a swimmer can pick up some good time. If you come from a background of cycling, to be honest, people that come from the background to Ironman training of they can make up the most time. If you're quick on the bike.
It's the longest, yeah.
Yeah, you can make up so much time. So it depends on who you are. Running was my strength because I had a background of running. So for me, when I got to the run, that was good. Like I knew exactly that what my times were going to be, what my splits were going to be. I knew I was going to be comfortable. I knew I can get through that. Swimming is like, for me. I can swim. I'm fine. I'm a lifeguard. I teach swimming. I'm not a professional. But it's really individual because some people like are runners. They can bike, but they can't swim. Like the swim might be the hardest thing for them.
Yeah, it is. No, it is fascinating from there. You said there was like a big learning curve. Again, what was the biggest learning curve for you of getting into like that ultra endurance work?
It's like, I would say the biggest learning curve is just like how you going to run your race. Like, what is it going to be? What's your swim stroke style going to be, based on the course, right? Like if I swim in Lake Michigan and it's choppy, the waves come into me from the east to west. So if I'm swimming, I can't breathe. If I breathe on my right side going a certain direction, I'm going to get smacked in the face and I can't breathe. So I have to learn how to breathe to the other side. And then if you have to loop back around, then you can breathe to your normal side or your favored side. Biking, it's like how fast you're going to be going, what shifting do you need. That was for me, it was the hardest. Like learning how to being an arrow too. Like there's no brakes on your arrow. It's just shifters. So like if you need to brake fast, you're screwed. You got to jump to the brakes. So learning how to do that, learning how to eat or nutrition, right? Or just water bottle. It took me I couldn't tell you how long it took me to learn how to get like my arm back to get my water bottle and then put it back. And it's just all over the place. What's your running pace? How are you going to attack the hills? Are you going to attack the hills? What's the down? So putting up the game plan, all that on top of being prepared in the transitions. that's one of the most overlooked thing is the transitions, because if you're staying in the transition way too long, like you just lose your momentum, like yes, in time, but also like it just, you got to get going right away. Did the half Ironman with my buddy. I got out of the water first. He got out of the water second, not that far behind me, but he's a better biker than me. So he passed me up like on the bike, and I thought he was going to ride with me. And I go, this a-hole is not even going to ride with me. He's just going to keep going. All right, I got you. And so I get off my bike. I transition real quick. But apparently my buddy like was putting like whatever on. He went to the bathroom. You know, he's like putting his chafing cream on or whatever. And then I see him get out of transition, like up afar. I'm like, oh, I'm catching his ass. And I just remember just smacking him on the butt. Boom. And he's like, what the hell? And I was like, see you later, buddy. And I just, because he's not a strong runner, so I just took off. So I beat him. But when he passed me on the bike, I was so pissed. But he just took too long in transition. Like he could have probably got a great ahead of time. But there's the planning. So that's like the learning curve. But it's also like it was fun. I look back. Ironman was great. I got the medal. I traveled for it. It was cool. But like the training was just the fun part. Like doing different things, like, oh, I got to run today. I got to bike today. I got to go lift, then run, or I got to go run, right? And I got to go swim and then get out and run or get out and bike or do whatever. So it's just like different. It was cool. You got to learn different techniques. I'm not going to be a master at any of them, but it's just cool to learn.
I think that's cool. I think it's interesting. I see that so much with people who get into the world of kettlebells like we do, is like that little attention to detail on planning, I think is so fascinating. It's kind of the fun part of it, of like just looking at turning your head a different way, you know, with the swimming. And because we, you know, from the outside in looking at it, it's like, oh, you need to be in really good condition. And obviously that's very self-evident. You need to do the work to be able to finish. But all those little details of, yeah, like just grabbing your water bottle at the right time, or like, okay, these are where the hills are, like having a plan. In my coaching community, we call that scouting the defense. Like with so many things we focus on is like the offensive game plan, and that's the training, that's like the getting your VO2 max up, like all that stuff. But what are the things that are going to try and derail you of going on? Like scout those things too, because that's just as important of a lesson to know. And if you see it a split second ahead of time, you might be able to turn a reactive situation into a proactive situation. And it just makes it that much more fun. I want to ask you just kind of about the mentality and the mindset going into that, because a 15-hour venture of anything is, I mean, that is, you know, most people aren't up for 15 hours a day. So just being into the shit during that time, how do you mentally prepare for that? Like, is there some stuff that you did beforehand to kind of get yourself into that zone that helped you out when you got into the race?
Yeah, I look back. One of the best things that ever happened to me was wrestling. Like that was my favorite sport. It's so hard. It's so grueling. It's kind of a shame. Like the numbers of wrestling have gone down over the years. The one thing that's saving wrestling as well is female wrestling. Like we're getting more females into the sport. It's actually gaining some popularity in the female communities. But I think that it's just one of those, I just think about like, we have a red flag day at we have like these red flag practices where it's like, hey, we're going live for 35 minutes. You get taken down and the guy's holding you down. We're not going out of bounds. The clock's not going to stop. You got to get up, right? And my coach used to say, like, if your partner is going to hold you there for 35 minutes, he's going to hold you. You got to get up. You got to find a way, right? Find a way to get to your feet, get out, and get some offense going. So I look at like stuff like that. It's like, damn, I went through all that stuff in high school. I coached wrestling. So for me, like that mentality of like, I gotta keep moving and I gotta keep pushing forward, has like carried on with me. I mean, the Dan Gable quote, right? Everything is easier in life once you wrestled. If you wrestled high school, college, even middle school, right? Everything is easier because it's one of the hardest. There's hard sports for sure, but it's very grueling. It's taxing. not only is that nutrition piece there because you have to watch your weight, like you have to make sure like you're not overweight before like you go to a meet. You got to make sure is my hydration in check. It's a lot of discipline, so that carried on for sure. But I think preparing is, you should be able the day of to complete the race, right? Because you did the work. I'll never forget, I went to one of my first triathlons was the Chicago Tri, and it's a sprint, right? You can do the sprint, you can do the Olympic. It's like, it's not a longer race, it's a short race. And we started in the water, and people were holding on to the side of like the lake, like buoys, and they're going like this along the wall of the lake. And I go, you signed up for a triathlon, but you can't swim. Like you gotta put in the work, you know? So I knew I was going to finish. That bike kicked my ass 100%. It got me worried, but I said, I'm just going to, you know what? I'm going to keep going. I did all the training. I prepared. I put my work in, right? All I can do, if they cut me off, they cut me off. It's like, if I stop in the middle of the road, and I give up, who's coming to get me? Yeah. Nobody. You might get lucky and there might be a truck that like the event has, but I'm out on the road like 10 miles away from even the staging area. So I have no option. I have to finish the bike. Nobody's going to come get me. That's it. Like, so put your head down, keep moving, you know, and keep trucking. That's all you can do. So I think the aspect of wrestling, the training, of just the discipline of putting in the work, it should be when you show up game day, it should be easy. That should be the easy part. You just go have fun. You did all the hard stuff already.
Yeah. That's a beautiful lesson. It's funny. I come from my high school was huge in wrestling. We've had state champion wrestlers and stuff. So I had a lot of friends that were in that had a lot of same sentiments. As you said, Tony. But the lesson there I think so powerful is it's easy to think that when you're feeling like that, like something's abnormal, like something's wrong, like I'm so tired. It's like, no, this is what hard feels like. Like this is what you're supposed to do. So as you said, like the red flag day, like, yeah, we're going for 35 minutes. Like you get down in the first 5, like this is what's supposed to happen. You better figure it out. And I think a lot of people, we get into this zone of when you get in like a new fitness venture or like a new like program, and we all have like rose-colored glasses at the beginning of starting something, thinking like, oh, like I'm going to do this and it's going to go like this. And then all of a sudden you hit that roadblock or you hit that wind coming at you. And you're like, well, you think something's like abnormal, like this isn't what it's supposed to feel like. It's like, no, this is what it is. Like this is where it's supposed to be. Now you just got to figure it out. But it's hard to think of that beforehand until you get into it. So having an experience like that and recognizing that, yeah, there's nothing wrong here. Like there's nothing abnormal that's going on here. This is part of it. Like you signed up to do a swim. You better start swimming here. Like don't hold on to the side.
That was insane. I was just like, we saw actually in the half Ironman, we saw somebody go down, like start to drown in the start. And I think it's a true story. We were a little bit ahead of them, but they had lifeguards on paddle boat, paddle boards. They had lifeguards out, but the lifeguards were at the turn, like almost halfway, because they don't think anybody's going to go down in the first 15 feet of the race, right?
Yeah.
But I think what ended up happening was, and this is another part of the training that people don't realize, get ready to go swim shoulder to the shoulder with like 20 people. If you can't handle that, you might freak out. And I think that's what happened with this person. They got in the water, they weren't ready, and they didn't do any like entry points, didn't swim next to anybody. They probably did everything by themselves, and they got panicked and they freaked out. Actually, the competitors had to bring them back to shore. It wasn't 15 feet, but they got them. You good? Yeah. And then they just jumped back in the water and they just went back onto the race. But yeah, that's things you gotta be ready for that. Like you're going to get kicked. You're going to get shoved. You're going to get an elbow because you got 20 people entering the water at a time.
My friend Chris said that I think his first race, within the first like 10 yards, someone kicked off his goggles in the race. And he's like, all right, I guess I'm doing the swim with no goggles. It's like you just have to, adapt and respond.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So getting into now the work that you've done with coaching and strength training from there, when did you want to go and really focus on like the route, like you're a StrongFirst level two, instructor, you've gone through the barbell. What prompted you to want to go down that route and get into like the school of strength?
Yeah, I wanted to. I loved the kettlebell. I got my CNT, and that was a part of like learning the kettlebell and those movements. But then I was looking at like, what else am I gonna do to die? Like, I wanted to be immersed in it. I mean, I am still like, I'm just learning. I love learning about the technique and how to coach, and I think it makes the biggest difference in the world. And so for me, I want to be more immersed into it. So then I was a trainer too at the time of I was like working at some other gyms. And it's like early in my like I was a PE teacher, I was a coach, like sports, but I just had started coaching in gyms. And I learned a lot about myself of like just working with just Gen Pop people, all different ages. And I think that's a great thing for trainers to do is to like work with a bunch of different people from all over different age groups, and then you kind of learn like how to coach better. Like you get more reps at different body types, but different styles or whatever. And so then I started going down this education path of StrongFirst, and I got my level 1. Blew my mind. Like when you think you know something about a kettlebell or whatever, I'm a PE teacher. Like I coach sports. I know what, I learned so much in those 3 days. Like those guys, like and girls, like all the instructors, they're just so good at what they do, and they're clear and concise, and they give amazing cues, and it's just the knowledge. Again, there's levels to this. Like I'm at the bottom level, and I think I know my stuff. I'm at the bottom level. I need to keep moving up. So going through level 1, my eyes were opened. Yeah, you do the snatch test. Yeah, you do the skills, but it's like the learning of like, oh my gosh, like what they're teaching us. Like everybody in here is proficient in kettlebells for the most part. And everybody's like, shoot, I've learned so much just by the cueing and the coaching. And then they got me into, I wanted to do barbell. I was a kettlebell purist for the longest. Like I didn't bench press for 5 years. I just push-ups, whatever, banded push-ups, pull-ups, whatever. Just I got away from barbell. So I started introducing the barbell back in. More for my clients, more for the students. Like because they all want to use the barbell. I'm like, I really, again, going through university, being a PE teacher, getting my certification, I never got any barbell instruction. Nothing. CNT, it was all natural stuff. So CNT, functional fitness, no barbell. So then I did StrongFirst Barbell with Fabio, which we've mentioned before in the podcast. Amazing individual. Within 5 minutes, I'm like, I know nothing. I have no idea what I've been doing all these years. Like just the level of attention to detail. It's crazy. And then I was an instructor this past one at the Dome in Chicago. So I was an assistant instructor. And I learned so much more being an assistant because I wasn't freaked out about my lifts or whatever. I'm just watching and helping and coach. And it's awesome. It's just so much like knowledge and so many different things I could take away that are small, like little things of where the foot goes, the bar placement, on the shoulders, the delta clavicle, like the back squat hinge versus the front squat hinge. You know what I mean? Like it's just these little details. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I did level 2. Level 2 was great as well. You revisit all the skills, you do some new ones, but the coaching. So I've just fell in love with like the education, and I see on the aspect of the trainer and as a teacher, like how bad it is out there sometimes of what people see. They take from Instagram, they take whatever, and they get so caught up with the fancy, though this, the that. People don't realize you just got to be really brilliant at the basics and have a plan. And just put the work in like we were talking about earlier, and you're going to get results. Jumping plan to plan every 4 weeks or whatever, and just like throwing kettlebells around just because it's in that program for the day, but you have zero technique. Like the one gym that I don't even really work full-time at that gym anymore. I go in once a month and we do a kettlebell workshop in the West Loop, and all the students and clients that come in there, and we just do a kettlebell workshop so that during the week when they're programmed into whatever 8-week cycle that they got, that they're the movement pattern is awesome. The technique is there. The quality of every lift is amazing because they put the time to put the technique in. So it's all about developing skill, all about learning. Forget about the weight poundage, the kilos. Forget it. How good is your lift? Right? That's the biggest thing. How good is the skill? The better the skill, yeah, the poundage will go up, the kilos will go up. But fall in love with the process of getting better at the lifts and learning, and the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, I love that. It's, when we talk, I'm always fascinated by breaking down cliches that we say all the time of like the basics and like keep it simple and stuff, because you hear it a million different times, but like, what does it actually mean in practicality? And, Fabio taught me so much from the barbell work. The barbell, work actually made me a better coach more than anything, because I think the kettlebell as a tool is it's very nice for your body. Like it kind of flows around your architecture, where the barbell is very unforgiving. Like you have to know the nuances to try and make it fit a person much more into details on it. But I think when people say the basics, it can be very easy to think, oh, like you're staying in the shallow end. It's like, oh no, there's a deep pool of going into the basics that you can keep learning. One of my favorite stories, Tony, of that, I remember hearing this, was of Sidney Crosby, the NHL, Hall of Fame guy. And he went home to like a town in Canada, and there was this young hockey player who's like playing on an outside rink. And Sidney Crosby shows him, was like, hey man, you mind if I skate a little bit? And the kid's like freaked out. It's like, it's Sidney Crosby, like, Stanley Cup champion. And the guy's like, yeah, sure, you can come on, Sid. Like, it's all good. And he said he watched Crosby just go through the most remedial, basic skating drills, like getting on your edges and just like flowing. Things you learn when you're like 6 years old skating. But he said the attention to detail of what he was doing, of getting into that, the guy looked like he was in a trance. And it was like, it was such a lesson of like, yeah, like it just, because he could do those drills without thinking about it, like at all, just fly through it. But he was actually focusing on every little detail of it, of getting down. And that's what makes you great. It's like, do you need to do that? He'll probably still be able to score a goal. But the fact that he does do that and he pays attention to it just gives that little extra edge. And I think as coaches, like, that's the thing. Yeah, most of the stuff you'll probably teach your people is staying within the basics. But you should be able to dive deep into the details yourself as a coach, because that's only going to expand your library and give you more tools in your tool belt to help more people.
Yeah, just be brilliant at the basics. What's the SWAT team like saying, like the army or the SWAT teams or whatever? They're just like the reason that the special forces, that they're so good, is just they do the basics better than everybody else.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a beautiful line. So you have a 4-pillar system that you created, which is, strength, nutrition, movement, and recovery. I want to dive into a little bit with you, Tony. So of those 4, what is the one that it seems like more people struggle with a little bit more than others? Is there one that stands out as the one that's more challenging with the people that you've worked with in your coaching practice?
Yeah, I would say out of them all, again, they're all pillars that hold up this foundation, right? That's the reason I call my company and coaching business Primal Foundations, of like these are the 4 things that we need. But I would say nutrition. I think that is the hardest thing, because you could get people working out. Like they'll work out, they'll run, they'll lift, right? 4 or 5 days a week. They'll take some days off here and there, recovery, whatever. They'll do their strength training. But then when it comes to nutrition, there's this psychological connection with food that people have. And it's different than other things, because you're around food all the time and you need food to live, right? Let's say you're if you're alcoholic, right? You're around alcohol, right? People are telling you, oh, just have a beer. Just have one beer. It's fine. Just have a beer. All right. You're like, no, I can't. I just have too much. I go over the deep end a little bit. I can't do it. Come on, man. Just have a beer. Nobody says that to somebody who's alcoholic, right? Or they shouldn't. But somebody that's trying to watch what they eat, trying to, really dial in their nutrition, they go to a party, have some cake. I'm good. I don't really want any. Come on. You can have it. You can have. There's this little psychological piece that we have with food, and sugar addiction is a real thing. I work with people all the time. Like, they can't stop eating sugar, sweets, processed food, ultra processed food, I should say, things that are easily palatable. And it's the one thing that I think, and again, if you want to go carnivore, you go carnivore. You want to go keto, you want to be vegan, vegetarian, that doesn't matter to me. I work with a lot of people that come to me because of my success story with carnivore and a ketogenic diet. But outside of that, I think the biggest thing is getting people to realize what their triggers are with food, and to get rid of the processed crap and get real food back into their life, and taking ownership and control of their life. Because some people, like, it is a very, very slippery slope. It is a very tough problem for them just to get away from food. And I think that's the hardest thing out of all the pillars, right? Because I can get people to train, I can get people to work out and lift and be active and move, but they cannot get out, they cannot stop eating processed food or things that they love to eat and sweets, and they cannot have Diet Coke. They cannot have this one thing. I have to have my ice cream pint every night. It's like, why? Well, why? You know, you have this psychological connection and this addiction to food. And food addiction is a real thing. Sugar addiction is a real thing. So for me, working with clients of just like getting them to eat things that will make them feel satiated, right, and full, and feel good, and really dive deep into like, what is the reason why you want to eat the way that you want to eat? Because I went through it. Like, I know when people say like, oh, you're a fit guy, you're in shape. I used to not be. I used to be really, really heavy as a kid. And then later in my adult years, I'm talking 50 pounds overweight. I got pictures. I'm out here like this. I was up to I'm 182 right now. I think my freshman year, I was like almost 230.
Yeah.
So I've been there, and I couldn't stop eating, and I just had this emotional connection. So that's the hardest for if I had to pick one, that's the hardest.
Yeah, it is the one. It's like the nutrition. It's such a crazy topic because there's so many different avenues that you can go down. It's the one thing that I think, if you're really trying to change it, is start with like small steps and goals, like a couple weeks or a month down. It's just making some small changes. And I think that's where a lot of debate that comes off. It's like, oh, you need to do everything for a lifestyle. It's like, well, you need to kind of know where you're at the beginning steps too. Like, just doing a challenge of getting something out of your system, of like, cutting out like the specific areas of like sweets or highly palatable foods. I mean, usually sugar is one thing, but it's usually the sugar fat connection that, makes people overindulge so easily of getting in when you start combining those. That is the one thing that, no matter what, because there's culture involved too, there's emotions. You're Italian, I've been in an Italian family. It's like, that's where we gather together. Like, there's such like a piece behind that. It is more than just one thing. So it's like, I think it's always going to be the challenge, but it is the one thing, like, just start with one step on that, I think, for a short period of time, and see how it goes, document it a little bit more. And then I think that's really the way to go on that front.
Yeah. It's all about progress, not perfection. And I think you got to have the sense, you have to find your avenue for food freedom. Like, I'll have things that aren't carnivore. I consider myself carnivorous, and I do a lot of primal dieting, like primal aligned diet. But my girlfriend wanted to go, she's Ukrainian. She's like, I want to go take you to this Ukrainian place. What am I going to say? No? Like, yeah, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to enjoy. And you got to find the balance, right? And it takes some time to find that, but you have to do the work internally. Like, you have to put the work in and allow yourself, because it goes both ways too. Some people get too strict with not only dieting, but exercising. You're working out 6 days a week, 2 times a day, and you're an accountant. Like, unless you're a professional athlete, I don't know what you're doing twice a day, 6 days a week. Like, sometimes I like to say balance, sometimes not, but it is like this teeter-totter of like, what are you giving up and what are you gaining, right? What are you putting in? So I think dieting could go real left, real fast. Chronic exercising can go real left, real fast. I think the biggest thing is finding what works for you, what's sustainable for you, and just progress, not perfection.
Love it. Tony Pascolla. Tony, you're awesome, man. This has been a blast, connecting with you and just hearing about your journey and your story. So I really appreciate you coming on today, man.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to come on. And like I said, I hosted you, wonderful podcast, everything that you're doing, and also your it's a Sacramento, not Sacramento. What's the new one you're doing?
Inspire Saratoga. Yeah.
Saratoga. That's it. Yeah, that's awesome, man.
I appreciate it, man. If people want to check out everything that you're doing, follow your podcast, what's the best place that we can direct them?
Yeah, you can go to primalfoundations.com. That has all my info on there. I'm Tony _ Primal Foundations on Instagram, and that's the same for my YouTube. Primal Foundations podcast is on Apple, Spotify, all the major avenues. So you could just look that up. But yeah, happy to connect with anybody. And I just love talking about strength training and anything in the fitness realm.
Thanks, Tony.
Cool.
Appreciate it, brother.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
All right, listeners, thank you so much. Catch you on the next one. Peace.